The Australian Open has long been known as the Grand Slam where extremes collide. Extreme heat, extreme pressure, extreme emotion. And on Sunday in Melbourne, all three came together in a moment that stopped tennis in its tracks and reminded everyone watching that beyond rankings, results, and rivalries, the sport is still about humanity first. Under the unforgiving Australian sun, with temperatures climbing and the hard courts radiating heat back into the air, a first-round match between Turkey's rising star Zeynep Sonmez and Russia's 11th seed, Ekaterina Alexandrova, suddenly became something far bigger than a tennis contest. It became a test of character, empathy, and composure in the most challenging of conditions. Midway through the second set, as Alexandrova prepared to serve, the rhythm of the match was shattered. A ball girl stationed near the umpire's chair suddenly collapsed, falling backward onto the court. For a split second, the stadium froze. Then instinct took over. Sonmez was the first to react. Without hesitation, she sprinted toward the fallen ball girl, kneeling beside her and calling for help. Alexandrova followed immediately, grabbing ice packs from a courtside refrigerator and rushing to assist. Officials, medical staff, and umpires moved in quickly as play was halted and the crowd fell silent, the severity of the moment sinking in. This wasn't a dramatic point or a controversial call. This was a young person overwhelmed by the punishing conditions, a reminder of how brutal the Australian Open environment can be even for those not competing. The temperature in Melbourne had reached 28 degrees Celsius, and while that number may not sound extreme on paper, the combination of direct sun, heat-retaining courts, and physical exertion can push the body to its limits. As medical staff attended to the ball girl and guided her off the court, the match remained suspended for several minutes. Players waited quietly, rackets down, competitive instincts paused. The crowd, which moments earlier had been engaged in the usual ebb and flow of Grand Slam tennis, now watched with collective concern. Later, Sonmez would reflect on the moment with clarity and humility. She spoke not as an athlete, but as a person. For her, the decision to run over wasn't calculated or performative. It was instinctive. She explained that being a good human being matters more than being a good tennis player. And in that moment, the choice was obvious. Those words resonated far beyond the match itself. In a sport where players are often scrutinized for on-court behavior, emotional control, and competitive fire, Sonmez's response cut through the noise. It was a reminder that empathy is not a weakness, and that compassion has a place even in the most fiercely contested arenas. When play eventually resumed, the atmosphere had shifted. The crowd applauded warmly, acknowledging not just the return to tennis, but the sportsmanship they had witnessed. And then something remarkable happened. Zeynep Sonmez, a qualifier with far less experience at this level, found another gear. Facing Ekaterina Alexandrova, a top 15 player with a reputation for clean ball striking and composure, Sonmez was already competing bravely. But after the interruption, she elevated her game, showing resilience, focus, and a fearless approach that defied her underdog status. The match became a battle not just of strokes, but of will. Sonmez took the opening set 7-5, absorbing Alexandrova's pace and countering with precision and movement. The Russian responded in the second set, regaining control and leveling the match 6-4, reasserting her experience and shot-making under pressure. But it was the third set where the story truly crystallized. Under the same sweltering conditions that had already tested everyone on court, Sonmez refused to fade. She ran down every ball, extended rallies, and forced Alexandrova to hit one more shot, again and again. Her footwork remained sharp, her shot selection disciplined, her belief unwavering. At key moments, Sonmez played with the clarity of someone who understood the opportunity in front of her. This wasn't just another match. This was a chance to redefine her career on one of tennis's biggest stages. When the final point was played and Sonmez secured a 7-5, 4-6, 6-4 victory, the reaction was immediate. The crowd erupted, not just for the upset, but for the journey they had witnessed unfold in real time. This was the biggest win of Sonmez's career, achieved in circumstances that demanded not only skill, but emotional strength. For the 23-year-old from Turkey, the victory carried historical weight as well. Just a year earlier at Wimbledon, she had already broken new ground by becoming the first Turkish player in the Open era to reach the third round of a Grand Slam. That run announced her arrival to the wider tennis world. Melbourne confirmed it was no anomaly. Sonmez is part of a new generation of players redefining what is possible for nations traditionally underrepresented at the top of professional tennis. She carries not only her own ambitions, but the hopes of fans who rarely see their flag represented on the biggest courts. Her performance against Alexandrova was not built on reckless aggression or flashes of brilliance alone. It was constructed through discipline, fitness, and belief. She trusted her patterns. She stayed mentally present. And when the moment demanded courage, she delivered. For Alexandrova, the loss was a bitter disappointment. As the 11th seed, expectations were high, and an early exit will sting. She had moments of control, particularly in the second set, but struggled to maintain consistency as the match wore on. Whether the interruption, the heat, or Sonmez's relentless defense played the biggest role, the result was the same. A favored player undone by resilience and resolve. As Sonmez moves on to the next round, she will face either American wildcard Elizabeth Mondulik or Hungary's Anna Bonder. Regardless of the opponent, she now carries momentum, confidence, and the belief that she can compete with anyone on this stage. Beyond the result, however, this match will be remembered for something deeper. The image of Sonmez running to help a fallen ball girl before returning to the baseline and producing the performance of her career encapsulates what makes sport powerful. It shows that excellence is not just measured in winners and unforced errors, but in character under pressure. The Australian Open has always tested players in unique ways. Temperatures here have historically climbed well beyond 40 degrees Celsius, forcing organizers to implement heat policies and suspensions. This year is no different, with forecasts predicting temperatures reaching at least 36 degrees in the coming days. For players, officials, and ball kids alike, managing the conditions is as much a challenge as the opponent across the net. In that context, Sonmez's actions took on even greater significance. She didn't hesitate. She didn't look to her team or the umpire first. She acted. And then, when the moment passed, she returned to her job with focus and professionalism. It is easy to romanticize these moments after the fact, but they matter. They shape how athletes are remembered. They influence how young fans perceive the sport. They remind everyone watching that competition does not erase compassion. For Sonmez, Sunday in Melbourne may ultimately be remembered as a turning point. A day when she showed the tennis world not only that she can beat top players, but that she carries herself with grace, awareness, and humanity. In an era where attention is fleeting and headlines move quickly, this was a moment that lingered. As the tournament continues and the heat intensifies, more tests will come, more pressure, more adversity. But for now, Zeynep Sonmez has already passed one of the most important tests a professional athlete can face. She proved she can handle the moment. She proved she can rise after disruption. And she proved that even in the most competitive environments, doing the right thing comes first. The Australian Open thrives on stories like this. Stories where resilience meets empathy, where underdogs rise, where the human element shines through the glare of the spotlight. On a scorching day in Melbourne, Zeynep Sonmez didn't just win a tennis match. She earned respect. And in doing so, she reminded the world why sport, at its best, is about more than the scoreline.